Sonia De La Fosse, and I manage all of our educator programs here at Microsoft. That means I work with teachers in every country, sharing my passion for blending pedagogy with technology. I spent 21 years working in public education here in the United States before joining Microsoft 5.5 years ago.
And I'm Jennifer King, the Schools Engagement Lead here at Microsoft UK. Just like Sonia, I also get to spend my time learning and sharing with educators all over the country, being inspired by how they use technology and supporting their digital transformation. I'm also a former educator, having taught all over the world before coming to Microsoft.
We are so excited to welcome you to this special CPD session with Greenwood Academy Trust in the UK. They will introduce you to social and emotional learning methods, their importance in both teaching and learning, and give you practical ways that Microsoft tools can enhance SEL both in face-to-face and remote learning environments.
Here in the UK, as in so many other countries, schools and teachers have experienced how our Microsoft Innovative Educator programs and our Showcase School programs can support transformation across teaching and learning. I'd like to hand it off to Natasha Epton and the amazing team at Greenwood Academy Trust.
Thank you, Sonia and Jen, and welcome to Greenwood Academy's Trust presentation on social and emotional learning, specifically through the Office 365 and Windows 10 platform. Before I introduce you to the amazing team that I have with me today, I just want to talk to you about something equally amazing, the MEC. If you haven't heard of this before, this is the Microsoft Educator Centre. It is a completely free resource. You can sign in with your email address by finding microsoft.education.com. And when you have signed in, you will have access to hundreds of courses, again, completely free. Courses on Teams, 21st century learning design, Flipgrid, Minecraft, all of the things that we're going to talk to you about today. This also opens up lots of opportunities for you to develop yourself as well. So through the MEC, there are lots of different pathways. First of all, for you to become an MIE, which is a Microsoft Innovative Educator. This means that you're engaging with the MEC and you are starting to transform the way that you teach. Very important in the times that we are in at the moment. After that, you can apply to Microsoft to become an MIEE. This is a Microsoft Innovative Expert Educator. And this means that you are really having an impact with the way that you are teaching. You are embedding all of these wonderful platforms into your teaching, and you are doing things in a transformational way. All of your courses pull through to your transcript. You get points and you get badges. We all love a little bit of competition. And so pairing yourself with a competitor to see how many badges and points you can get is always a great way to engage through the MEC. Any bespoke training that you join, like today's CPD session, will also give you a code. So at the end of the session, we will come back to this and I will give you that code for you to pop in. And we will also recommend some courses for you, which will pop up onto the screen. The MEC is a super powerful tool, and I recommend every single person that joins this call to go and sign up to that to enhance your knowledge of this platform. It really is amazing. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the wonderful team of educators that I have with me today. First of all, we have Vicki Redhead, who is the principal at one of our Showcase Academies in Peterborough, Bishop Creighton Academy. We also have Rebecca Leighton, who is the head of school at another of our Showcase Academies on the East Coast, Skegness Infant Academy. We have Sam Russell, who is the Year 6 teacher at Nottingham Primary Academy. We have Heather Tanser, who is the admin and attendance officer for Danesholme Infants Academy, proving that this platform really is for everybody. We also have Andy Marshall, who is the head of science at Nottingham Girls Academy. And finally, we have Carol May, who is the principal at Danesholme Infant Academy. I would like to hand over to Vicki to start this presentation.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how we support social emotional learning at Bishop Creighton through the use of Teams. We've used Microsoft Teams at Bishop Creighton for nearly 3 years, and its usage is really well embedded across our academy, and it allows our teachers to create truly collaborative classrooms. And for our pupils, We find Teams provides a really safe, collaborative and social environment for learning. We love the feature of it being a real-time feedback tool to help us communicate more effectively. And over recent years, it's given us a massive opportunity to extend learning beyond the school day. We find that our children have begun to take ownership of their learning. It's stimulated such a high level of engagement, something that in the past we haven't seen from our pupils. It's worthy of note that all of the children at Bishop Creighton have access to a device on a one-to-one ratio. And that was quite a significant decision we made quite early on in our journey using technology to improve teaching and learning. We use the analogy with any teachers or any visitors to our academy that devices should be viewed as stationary items. Just like pens and papers and whiteboards, they should be available at all times in all lessons to support children. We never put our devices away. That was such a significant cultural shift in our thinking around the use of technology. But because of that, that means that all of our children also have access to Teams throughout the school day. And they find it really, really engaging due to that similarity with social media instant messaging. Within each of our class teams, the teachers have set up channels which support different curriculum areas. And then our class teams also have class chat channels. And those channels were particularly important during school closures so that our children could continue to connect with one another, even though they weren't physically in the building. When I first introduced Teams to the Academy, a group of older pupils and myself, we worked together to create a set of rules for the use of Teams to clarify some of the expected learning behaviours we hope to develop. It's worthy of note that our pupils currently communicate within their class Teams channels only. The one-to-one chat facility is disabled. The safeguarding culture in our school is that is so strongly embedded. Our children have a really good understanding of how to stay safe online, but significant work did have to take place to make sure both behavioural expectations were right, but that pupils also really understood around how they would leave a digital footprint. Our pupils' use of Teams is both really respectful and responsible. We also view the use of Teams as an opportunity to develop lifelong skills. So, for example, we encourage pupils to use correct grammar. We limit text speak, although we do love a good emoji or a GIF, which when I share some pupil views later, you will see how that engages the children. Teams has enabled our classes to introduce such wider opportunities for flipped learning. This as a learning experience is made absolutely seamless by the ability to integrate other applications within Teams. For example, pre-lesson, our teachers might share content that relates to an upcoming lesson. The children then have this great opportunity to read, research, or develop initial ideas about a topic before or outside of a lesson. And that saves masses of time within the lesson, having allowed them time to absorb an idea before they've even come onto the school site. So you can see here's an example of a pre-lesson task that we might use via Teams. This was an opportunity where one of our teachers provided the children with a text to read before a lesson, shared via Teams, a chapter a night, and the impact captured by a poly also embedded into the Teams channel. 71% of pupils tell us they prefer to read a text prior to the lesson via a link shared out on Teams. Likewise, that same technique we use post-lesson to extend and develop pupils' understanding. Our pupils are choosing to engage in learning activity via Teams out of hours. They don't view it as homework. That is a huge shift we see in their attitudes towards learning. So here are some examples. One is an end-of-unit assessment. It's a Year 5 topic around mysterious materials. After the lesson, children were asked to complete a form, again embedded into the channel, to give their views on what they felt that they'd learned about the lesson. Teams for us also provides us with a brilliant opportunity to provide feedback to our pupils, and also for them to seek feedback and or to ask for help in a really safe environment. Our pupils drive our Teams channels out of hours. They support one another with key learning, and they provide one another with instant feedback and support. The way in which our pupils display support and empathy and a polite level of challenge to each other demonstrates to us how over time Teams has really, really helped them to develop a better and appropriate understanding of ways in which they should interact with one another. We see chat and collaborations within the class Teams channels between pupils are often really polite and very encouraging. Pupils will often praise one another. That's particularly evident when we see them sharing their home learning assignments completed outside of the academy. During school closures, our teachers utilised the live events function within Teams to deliver sessions. That provided a perfect opportunity for pupils to communicate and interact with their peers. Our live events were delivered to our reception class, showing that even the very youngest of children, we're talking about our 4 and 5-year-olds, can communicate effectively through the power of Teams when given the opportunity to do so. The teacher delivered the lessons. Our youngest pupils were able to interact with the content via the Q&A panels supported by their grown-up at home. That content was then safely moderated prior to being shared, and each session was recorded and uploaded to the Teams channels afterwards for pupils and families to revisit together. Another really successful strategy we've employed to encourage our youngest learners to engage with learning via Teams was the introduction of a bedtime stories channel. Children and their parents were encouraged to watch and add comments on videos shared out by their teachers. And again, the use of the Polly app linked to the text encouraged further interaction with their friends. We use Teams Insights. Teams Insights has really enabled us to track and measure levels of pupil engagement. Recently, I had to close a Year 6 class due to a positive case of coronavirus. And despite being out of school 6 days, the Insights data showed huge levels of engagement. As a bit of a flavour, over that 6-day period, there were over 500 posts, nearly 4,000 replies and around 600 reactions. 26 out of the 30 pupils were regularly active. The table shows a little bit around the levels of staff and pupil engagement with Teams over a 9-month period. It's just incredible from a 1-form entry primary school when we only have 210 pupils. We've also developed our use of assignments this year to encourage pupils to engage further still. Our pupils access challenges which are shared with their class teacher via our home learning channels. Sometimes pupils are asked to present their learning using a particular application, such as a sway to create, or a Flipgrid response to record, or a form to complete. And sometimes the tasks are more open-ended, with children selecting their own way to present their learning. We find that really encourages pupils to take responsibility for themselves, making decisions around the best way to present information and their learning. And so most importantly, what do our pupils say about how they feel Teams supports their social emotional learning development? I'd like to introduce one of my Year 5 pupils, Ayana. And you can see on the slide here some of the views that the children are sharing. And some of the things that our children tell us is that they really enjoy using Teams because of some of these things. Ayana, do you want to share some of those things, what the children think?
So some children, they're very, they like to, well, they express like how they speak differently. They're really polite on Teams, and stuff like reacting to messages and just saying when you're at home, like when we're all at home, it was so nice to see how our friends were doing, and we were all seeing how each other were, and it was nice to still keep in contact.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you use emojis? What did you tell me the other day about how you guys like to use emojis in GIFs? Can you remember?
Yeah, we like to use emojis to express our feelings. Like if we put a joke on Teams, we've put a laughing emoji or GIFs for jokes. And you can also, we can text. When we're texting on Teams, we put a message, and it's just I love how you just can press the emoji and you can put it, and you can express your feelings like that. It's really fun.
Oh, thank you, Ayana. Natasha, did you have a question for us?
Hi, Vicki. Yes, thank you so much for sharing your journey with Teams. I absolutely love the bedtime reading channel, proving that this platform is for everybody, even our youngest learners. So you told us a little bit about Teams and how it was already well embedded and established at Bishop Creighton before lockdown. Did the use of it change at all during lockdown, or because of that embedded structure that you already had, were you able to just pick up and go?
We definitely were able to just pick up and go. That was one of the most brilliant things around lockdown. That use of tech is so integral now to what we do. We can move seamlessly between the two. Only today I've had to close another class bubble. Those children will have gone home today and they'll pick up online exactly where they left off, should they have been in the building. We saw quite an increase. What we love with the insights data is being able to look at those pupil levels of engagement and to know whether or not the children are online or not. That then gives us something really to follow up.
Brilliant, thank you. And hi, Ayana. Thank you for coming on and talking to us today and being the star of the show. I just wondered, when we had that initial lockdown, and you've already spoken about how you love using Teams and using the GIFs and all of the emojis, how did it make you still feel connected with your class?
Well, when we used the class chat, we would see how each other were, and it was so much easier. We could ask our teachers or our friends and ask about the work if we didn't get it. And even though our teachers didn't respond straight away, some of our friends would tell us. They would say, maybe, for example, they would be saying, I'm not your teacher, and then they would just say how they could help. And it's a really nice way to help each other. And it made, in lockdown, it made everything so much easier for us to be able to know how to do the things that we don't get at home, because we would still be able to go on Teams and ask our teachers or our friends.
So you still felt like you were all still together, even though you were still in your own houses?
Yeah, it felt like we were all still together, especially with the class chat, and we would just mention each other, see how each other were, and it was really, really nice.
I think we'd always talked about that the Teams channels were for learning. The focus was learning. But actually in that lockdown period, the focus also became around giving them that opportunity for that human connection that I think we all needed during that time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ayana. As I said, you are the star of the show. Don't tell Mrs. Redhead I said that, though, will you? And now we're going to head over to Rebecca Leighton from Skegness Infant Academy.
The 5 competencies of social and emotional learning can all be embedded through the use of SWAY. SWAY combines imagery, texts, and video clips to create presentations, newsletters, and websites. Students and educators are both able to use it within the classrooms. Students can use the digital imagery to create examples of their wonderful learning, and educators can create newsletters to showcase learning to the whole community. I'm going to showcase 3 of the 5 core competencies of social and emotional learning today. They are going to be self-awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. In terms of self-awareness, we use SWAY to support one of our little boys who really struggles at times to regulate his own behaviour and to recognise his strengths. We're using SWAY to showcase his learning. We're making an ongoing learning journey using images and videos and text to talk about what he's done during that day, which is brilliant, to really raise his confidence and positive self-image. The teachers he works with and myself and the pastoral support are all able to incorporate their ideas into the SWAY. This SWAY is then shared between the educators and, more importantly, it's shared with mum at home. Mum's able to look at that SWAY on a daily basis and to celebrate those wins with Jacob at home. Jacob has also got ownership of this SWAY. He's able to sit with our pastoral support and decide what goes into his SWAY. This helps him to really recognise what he's good at and what his strengths are. In terms of relationship skills, we really want to engage with our whole community through good communication. We use SWAY to create an Academy newsletter that goes out each week to our parents. We use videos, photos and text to explain what's been happening in the Academy that week. These are then shared with staff teams across Microsoft Teams, and they are texted out, the links are texted out to parents so that everybody in our whole community knows what's happening at school. These SWAYs are then embedded into our website and onto our Twitter page so that everybody has a full ownership of what's happening in our Academy. I'm now going to hand over to Tash for some Q&A.
Thanks, Beck. That was a really clear journey, and I really love how you use Sway in so many different situations for students, for staff. But the thing that I'm really interested in is Jacob. How has the use of his Sway journey over the day impacted on his behaviour in school? And more importantly, how have the parents reacted to having that continued communication?
It's really having a wonderful impact on Jacob. As I said, his self-awareness and self-esteem has been really quite low. But through working with him and creating that Sway with him, his self-esteem has raised so much. You know, he was a little boy who really struggled to make eye contact with you, actually, because he just didn't believe in himself. But Sway has enabled us to create that learning journey with him, for him to see his own confidences and his own possibilities, really, with his learning journey. And in terms of home life, you know, we don't always get the chance to speak to mum at the end of the day because it's busy dismissing a class of children. But we've able to give mum that live link. So whenever it's updated our end, mum's able to share that learning and those achievements with Jacob at home.
Thanks, Rebecca. We're now going to send you over to Sam from Nottingham Primary Academy.
So I introduced Education Minecraft to my class through the use of the classroom build challenges. Many of the children had already had experience of using Minecraft. So we started by discussing a set of class rules and considered digital citizenship, which was an excellent discussion around social awareness and understanding about how their actions online can impact others. The children were immediately engaged with the Minecraft platform. There was a buzz of excitement in the room as the task began. There were clearly defined roles allocated within each group, which helped to ensure that the children knew exactly what they needed to do. This really helped them to develop their teamwork. And the children engaged well with all stages, including the planning stage. And it was noticeable that those children who were a little bit quieter in class usually, who are reluctant to share their ideas, were just as vocal as the others in their group. And the children were engaging in high quality discussion to ensure they completed the task, and if someone was struggling in their group, they had the confidence to ask for help, and the others within the group were supportive and encouraging in helping them. These tasks really help children to understand the importance of teamwork, to experience it firsthand, to learn to trust each other with the role that they've been given, and to respect what each child brought to the team, and then in turn what they created in the world. I found that Minecraft education has helped to break down barriers. It's helped improve relationships between children who find it difficult to get along through communicating effectively and engaging positively with each other, supporting and creating to ensure the challenge is completed. Another skill that is developed through Minecraft is creativity. The worlds have a blank canvas, which enables the children to be free to create. It makes them responsible for their own decisions and takes ownership of their own learning. The collaborative gameplay encourages them to share their ideas, discuss and create together. The Minecraft education platform is accessible for all. With Immersive Reader embedded in, it means that if there is a barrier of literacy and reading, then this is immediately available for them as the instructions can be read to them. And I've seen confidence levels soar as they engage and succeed, even the children who've got really low confidence. And as they learn more about Minecraft, their achievements have been unmeasurable. And within the lessons, children learn to regulate their emotions and to set themselves goals, building on from previous sessions. As a teacher, it has been very easy to access the lesson plans that are detailed with clear lesson objectives and skills the children will learn and build on from previous sessions. There's suggestions to extend learning on the plans, and so you as a teacher can really personalise the lesson for the children in your class. And the tasks which are set are engaging and challenging. My class enjoyed setting the turtles free in one of the lessons. Allowing children to encounter different environments has enhanced their social awareness. The code builder is accessed easily. It allows the children to code, but then to go back and debug the code if there's a problem, and they problem solve through logical thinking to reach the solution. Another lesson that my class completed was the Mindful Night. This world enabled the children to experience different mindfulness techniques and to practice them. It definitely helped them to gain focus and to feel relaxed and able to continue with the task that was set for them. The use of immersive reader was really helpful for those reluctant learners and those that had low literacy skills. And the task built upon the children's self-management skills as it encouraged them to use the book and quill and the camera to write down their reflections, think about how to regulate their emotions, and to consider how that activity had impacted them and how they might transfer that into real life. Children do experience conflicts within social settings, and some find it difficult to stay calm. And in the reflections, the children wrote that they would use these skills within other contexts to ensure that they are engaging with these mindfulness techniques. In this session, we had a discussion before entering the Minecraft world. We used the collaboration space in our class notebook to share our thoughts, as well as sharing with each other verbally. So this task really helped children to reflect upon their self-management skills, to regulate their emotions, and to deal with stress. And another area that the children have embarked in is reflecting on their learning. So Minecraft education enables the children to reflect on learning. In this particular lesson, it was really strong. It helped the children to improve their communication skills, especially when it came to thinking about their feelings and their thoughts. And this is a really good example of how to evidence learning throughout the lesson and track progression. This opportunity to reflect upon their learning really helped to embed the mindfulness techniques they had experienced and gave them the tools to apply to real-life situation. The lesson plan suggests, as well as using the book and quill to write reflections, to also use Flipgrid, which provides the children who struggle with literacy skills an opportunity to reflect on what they had learnt. And my class engaged with Flipgrid really well. You can see some of their responses that they put, and they found this experience helpful to pay attention to their breathing, to take a moment, to regulate, and then they were able to continue. Minecraft education has so much to offer both children and teachers, and I know my class want to know exactly when they will next be learning in Minecraft again.
Thanks, Sam. I really love how you started your Minecraft journey with your class by doing a code of conduct that fitted with that SEL way of working. You mentioned that you really have seen an impact on relationships within your class. Is there a particular child that you could give us a little bit of information around their journey where maybe they wouldn't have been able to resolve conflict resolution before but are now able to do that?
Yes, there's definitely one individual that springs to mind. He definitely struggled with dealing with his emotions, especially in social settings like on the playground and outside. He'd find it really difficult to, if something had happened, to remain calm. And I think what had helped in the Minecraft lessons is when he was grouped with children that he didn't naturally get on with and had conflicts in other areas, because he was responding in a positive way with those children and learning to communicate with them and actually finding out that he did have things in common with them, and if they did have an upset or he had a disagreement, they just were able to resolve it themselves a lot quicker. Instead of getting angry, he was able to regulate and to really communicate effectively with the child that he was finding it hard to discuss with. So definitely for him, there was a real huge transformation in the way that he was dealing with his emotions and socially with children that he finds difficult to work with.
Thank you very much. We're now going to head over to Heather from Danesholme Infant Academy.
Over the past few months, the world has changed as a school. It has been vital that we change with it. Remote learning experiences have become commonplace and have even come full circle from the pupils' homes back to the classroom. It is not a case of either or for 21st century learning, but how both work together to complement one another. Flipgrid is an invaluable learning tool within this 21st century learning environment. It has a varied range of interactive features that allow staff and pupils to engage in new ways, bringing the traditional paper-based school lessons to life, both inside and outside of the classroom. You might think that in an early years setting that electronic mediums for learning would be difficult to introduce and use, but this is simply not the case. During the 2020 lockdown period, the entire nation and even the world was suddenly thrown into what was to become an extended time of remote learning. Through the use of Microsoft applications such as Flipgrid, Sway, Teams, Microsoft Edge, and the Microsoft Office suite, the classroom was brought into the home of children everywhere. In our academy, Teams was the main focus of the learning. Teachers in their homes were able to deliver online lessons to the children. But an exciting feature that really appealed to the younger children was Flipgrid. This platform was new to everyone, and we all embraced this exciting technology to deliver something that every child loved to engage in, reading. The teachers all recorded their own Flipgrid stories or shorts, and they were all stored in a central launchpad so that they could be easily shared via Teams to the children. Our academy is located in an area of mixed lifestyles and abilities, and even the families with limited resources to the internet who perhaps struggle to access online learning were still able to share much-loved tales with their children through the ease of a shared clickable link. The most popular feature of the Flipgrid story times was the ability to add a background to the story. Our principal recorded a number of shorts where she was reading the story with the pages behind her. She was truly immersed in the tale of the Gruffalo. The children loved it as it looked very similar to their favourite storytime programme on the television, but with their familiar grown-ups from school. This was so important in a time where children were quite often feeling isolated. Even our smallest nursery children were able to get involved using the Flipgrid platform. Staff made planting kits that were delivered to the children's homes, and we then recorded a Flipgrid short showing the children how to plant their seeds so they could follow along. We then recorded the growth of the seeds' progress, again using Flipgrid shorts, and the children were also able to record their own videos to be shared as individual topics in the nursery class discussion, and they could also comment on each other's contributions. This showed that age does not matter, and even the smallest of children can feel involved and part of a larger classroom community. With the start of a new school year, the now familiar applications could be used within the classrooms, and the Flipgrids have once again proved very popular with our extracurricular reading club. The stars of the stories were now almost celebrities to the children. Our principal has actually met the Gruffalo and hidden from the wolf in the Billy Goat's gruff. The wonderful Storytime Flipgrid shorts are now all easily accessible and reusable as part of our learning curriculum. Flipgrid has also become an invaluable tool in providing children with their pupil voice, something our family support worker is using to provide nurture sessions for children within the school. Each child has their own topic in their private resource, and the children have their sessions where they can record how they feel that day. This is very useful for helping these children in these times address their feelings in a more relaxed and perhaps less formal manner. They are not speaking directly to an adult, but are recording their own voices and can see themselves played back on screen. In this more relaxed environment, the children are able to open up in ways they may not have done otherwise. Having each child set up their own topic also allows the sessions to be tailored in a more personal manner. They can record their own videos in each session, and we'll be able to see their progress over time. They can also utilise the powerful video features to help express themselves. If a child wasn't feeling particularly talkative that day, they could add a smiley or an emoticon to their videos, and this would make self-expression easier. Older children can also be given a password so they could access the discussion at any time and record any feelings. And this again is particularly important for extended periods away from school. With Flipgrid, we are prepared for any situation to support our children. The family support worker is also able to add their own notes whilst keeping the focus on the child. The child will see that these sessions really are about them. The sharing for these videos is also important, as a staff member conducting these sessions has the option to share with other staff or outside agencies as needed. And if they feel something is necessary to go to a parent, a password can be provided for that video only for that specific parent. Everything is kept confidential in this manner, but parents can see how their children are doing in their own words. In the coming months, it is planned that the children will be able to make their own pen pals in the Flipgrid environment. Grid Pals is a wonderful feature that will take the traditional handwritten communications into the 21st century. It is very exciting for the children to meet other students in another country, make new friends, learn about other cultures, and share their own experiences for a truly global learning adventure. This is particularly important in current times, as children will benefit mentally, emotionally, and socially from knowing that there are children all over the world having similar lifestyle changes during the pandemic. They are not alone. We may not be able to see much of the outside world at the moment, but with the use of Flipgrid, we can very easily bring the outside world to us. And now I will hand to Natasha for any questions.
Thanks, Heather. I really love how you've embraced this creative and engaging platform in such a variety of ways. All of the different ways that you've used it is just immense. And also highlighting how it is for every member of staff. You are not classroom based, but you have been able to embrace this technology to assist your staff and students in such a tricky time. So what I really wanted to know was, how did using this application embed those really strong relationships that you have at Danesholme Infants throughout that tricky lockdown period?
That's an excellent question, Natasha. What it provided for us was such an amazing way that everyone could access it. It didn't need to be whether it was on a laptop or a phone or a tablet. Everyone could access the information. They could all talk to each other. And truly, the children did have their own voice for this. And Flipgrid was just fantastic for that.
Thank you so much, Heather. And now I would like to introduce you to Andy from Nottingham Girls Academy.
What is OneNote? Well, it's a one-stop repository for staff and students to communicate, collaborate, and work together in real time over all device types. I got started on OneNote in 2019, and my enthusiasm has spread across my department and is now being rolled out across the school. And this has been invaluable in recent times with the blend of home and online learning. What are the advantages of OneNote? Well, I always start off saying, if it saved you a journey to the staff room printer, then it's already saved you invaluable time. But it's so much more than that. It syncs constantly, so whatever you're doing on OneNote, it saves. And if you lose your connection and come back onto the Wi-Fi, it updates automatically, and this is true for students as well. Staff are also able to share tracking and target setting documents, enabling students to see instantly where they are with their work and what they need to do in future to improve. Students can set their own targets and take ownership of their own learning, and teachers can guide and follow where necessary. Students can work together on tasks wherever in the world they are, be it sat next to each other or working from home. They can work together simultaneously or in their own time, making suggestions, sharing ideas and giving each other valuable feedback. And I've often found that the quiet students that often don't contribute in class find it much more easy to make their contributions online. They find it almost like a safer space. Here's my first attempt at getting Year 7s to work together on a collective memory task before a test. And although it looks really, really primitive, they took to it instantly because they're just used to working with technology and it's almost what they expect. And you find that during group work, rather than one person perhaps taking over and delegating, other students get involved and make valuable contributions. I can follow from a distance, watching what they're doing, and I can address misconceptions, I can add comments and images and things like that to help them. Students can work in their private OneNote pages, which are visible only to them and to me. And in real time, I can communicate with them, I can make comments, I can highlight, I can give feedback, and they can act on that feedback instantly. And of course, OneNote incorporates stickers, and we're never too old to appreciate stickers. So if you don't believe me about the advantages of OneNote, please have a look at these comments from my school. I assure you they are all genuine comments and I've not changed any of them. Natasha, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. I completely agree with the statement that you are never too old for a sticker. Everybody loves a good sticker, especially a digital one. Thank you for sharing your OneNote journey with us. And you detailed that you had been using it already since about 2019. So I'm intrigued to know, how were the students able to take ownership of their learning whilst they were remote learning during the pandemic?
So they can either copy my pages into their personal areas, or I can copy automatically to every single student, and then it's there to do whatever they want. They can highlight, they can edit, they can stick in diagrams for the dual coding, they can put in useful clips, links to useful websites, put in their own little mnemonics, do it in rainbow ink. They can do whatever they want to make it more meaningful to them.
Thank you, Andy. And finally, would like to introduce you to Carol May.
Thank you, Natasha. My name's Carol May, and I'm the principal of Danesholme Infant Academy in Corby. As you know, social emotional learning has become even more important over the last 6 to 8 months, mainly because for a lot of us, in fact, all of us, we spent a good part of that at home. Our children became isolated from their friends, their peer group and teachers just overnight. It was a difficult time for all of us, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, we didn't have any time to prepare. We had to think very quickly as an academy how we could interact with our children to ensure the learning continued, but as well as that, really thinking about social emotional development, because we know it's so important. We had 5 elements to consider: self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. But why is social emotional learning, or SEL, so important? Again, you know, it's very quickly taking centre stage, along with cognitive skills, technical skills, and content knowledge in both the classroom and the workforce. For our young learners, social and emotional skill development is an integral part of learning. And as teachers, we needed to continue to develop this, despite what the world and the pandemic was throwing our way. Mark Brackett from Yale Centre for Emotional Intelligence summed up SEL in a quote saying, "Emotions drive attention and learning. How we influence this affects our ability to learn." As you know, research tells us that social emotional skill development is twice as predictive of a student's academic achievement than their home environment or even their demographic. More importantly, it can increase academic performance by 11%, which we know is important, and league tables and all of the rest of it that we're asked for constantly. So let's get this right. Social and emotional skills provide skills for our students with a perspective and flexibility necessary to function at a high level, even when faced with uncertainty, change, pressure, stress, and any other challenges. COVID provided us with all of these and many more, and it affected us all in many different ways. With all of this in mind, to ensure our children's social and emotional learning didn't suffer at the hands of COVID, we at Danesholme Infant Academy flipped our learning from school-based to an online platform overnight. To continue our children's self-awareness, we really quickly introduced the use of sways. Their utilisation was immense and immediate. Children used different ways to design their own stories where they use their own voice, their own message, and what mattered to them in the creating of their design. Encouraging independent learning is so important. Some of our children who struggle with self-expression, we've all got them in our classroom, suddenly had easy access to externalise their experiences and were able to share with their peers and their teachers. The teachers used sways to ensure our parents were kept up to date with their children's learning. Each class created their own knowledge organiser, which enabled parents to become fully immersed in their child's learning. So easily, the bridge between home and school was met with very little extra work, if any. Our support staff, they just were totally blown away by sways They really, really enjoyed creating sways to support the children in their classes. And we now, I think, have enough sways to take us right through the next academic year. It was important during this time to ensure we continue to develop children's self-management skills. We need our children to be independent, even our youngsters, our real tinies. We introduced Microsoft OneNote, and each child from nursery right through to year 2 have their own OneNote. Yes, even our nursery children have their own OneNote, which they can access and their parents can access. I'm sure some of the nursery children are actually teaching the parents, which saves you a job. Depending on the age of the child, depended on how we used them. The older children used their tools in their notebook to organise their own learning and set goals for themselves. How great is that? Children organising themselves. At the end of the day, that saves you a job. All our children have access to the collaboration space in OneNote, an area where the children can work together. The content library provided a wealth of resources for children and parents to access. And in fact, our parents were then suggesting other things that could go into that library. So again, very collaborative, and the children and parents are all involved. Our teachers all have their own OneNotes, so they share planning, pinch each other's planning, pinch each other's resources, but that's okay. If it saves time, that's fine. Even our curriculum leaders use OneNote. They provide a central point to monitor and evaluate the curriculum areas. Then the OneNotes are shared with the senior leadership team. So gone are the days when curriculum leaders walk around with big folders, which made them look slightly important, but they don't need to do that anymore because it's all on OneNote and anybody can access OneNote at any time. Minecraft was an app we used to ensure our children's social awareness skills were continuing to be developed. Minecraft gave the children an opportunity to explore worlds made by others across the globe and enhanced the students' ability to perceive multiple definitions of reality. Teachers would set challenges within Minecraft for the children to solve and then just let them get on with it. Minecraft became a very successful tool for our learners. But those shy learners, those reluctant learners who you spend so much time keeping engaged, keeping on task, could just immerse themselves within a world that was safe and where they could enjoy learning. As a tool, Microsoft Minecraft is accessible to everybody. The continuing need to develop the children's relationship skills we thought was going to be a problem. After all, they were no longer with their classmates, they were no longer with their teachers. So how were we going to make sure that that area didn't slip? Through Teams, OneNote and Flipgrid, we were able to ensure our children's relationship skills continued to be developed. It became a really important tool for parents, teachers and children. At the end of the day, it was our main way of communicating with the whole academy community. They could interact with their classmates and peers from their own home. The safety of these children is important. They were having to stay at home, and this was a very difficult time for them, away from their friends. Everybody that they had close to them had been taken away. So how great that they could access Teams to be able to talk to each other, share how they were feeling. They could talk to each other, they could share ideas, and they could work alongside their teachers. And parents also had an opportunity to work with their child's teacher. Again, bridging that gap very easily between parent and teacher. A very social activity when what must have seemed like, for many of us, a really lonely time. The whole academy team were able to work in a collaborative environment to solve problems and to plan for the future. Every member of the community was involved. Our site manager was involved, our cleaners were involved, parents, grandparents, children's siblings, all involved. And this was really important to us because we'd always worked collaboratively and we were concerned that once we turned to online learning, there'd be a barrier. But actually, it was far from a barrier. It encouraged us all to make that effort and work alongside each other. The final skill that we had to continue to develop was the responsible decision making. Our main tool to develop responsible decision making was Flipgrids. This was a new tool for our teachers, one that we'd not ever contemplated using before. In fact, I'd looked at Flipgrids and thought, actually, how would they benefit me and my children? But very soon, our children and teachers and parents were using Flipgrids. Teachers started to read stories through Flipgrids, which were shared on Teams for the children to access. Fiction and non-fiction were all considered, and very soon we had a library of videos, which we could all share with each others. Students were able to navigate through the videos, and parents enjoyed the fact that their child's teacher was reading to their child. How fabulous to have a bedtime story read by your class teacher. I've even heard that some of our parents have used that as a tool to get their child to bed. They've said to their child, Mrs. Smith is going to be reading the bedtime story tonight. You need to be in bed by 7 o'clock. It works. Flipgrid was used in a collaborative environment when we created challenges for our children. For instance, we asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up. Even our youngest nursery children articulated what they wanted to be. Our teachers also did videos because at the end of the day, they wanted to tell the children what they would like to be when they grew up, if they ever do. Through the medium of Flipgrids, children were creating videos of their feelings, they were narrating stories and sharing their aspirations and many, many other things. Here at Danesholme Infant Academy, we continue to use Microsoft tools in so many different ways. This is just a snapshot. We want to ensure that social emotional learning is at the centre of everything we do for our children. That's back to Natasha.
Thank you, Carol. I really love how you and your staff were able to transform what you did overnight and put all of these tools into place for your students and for your staff. And I think you and your staff should be very proud of everything that you've done for your children. It's a fantastic transformation. What I'm interested to know, however, is all of that work that you did socially distanced, did that have an impact on your students when they returned back to your academy and back to face-to-face teaching?
Yeah, thank you, Natasha. Yes, we did. We were a bit apprehensive when the children came back because we felt we'd been away from them for so long that we wondered how they would settle back into school life. But what was really interesting was the fact that they came back buzzing about all the things they'd been doing during lockdown. They were talking about the Flipgrids. They were talking about the stories that our teachers had read to them at bedtime. They were talking about how they'd been talking to their classmates on Teams. Our parents were buzzing too, that they had an opportunity to work with their children in quite an easy way, which they could access at any time of the day. And also they could talk to their child's teacher. And they also talked about the fact that everything we had shared with them was so useful. And what the big thing that they were asking is that this continued. This was a new thing for us, for our parents and for our children, but the whole community wanted it to continue once they were back in school. So we had 100% buy-in, which has made life easier now, and it will just continue to grow now.
Thank you, Carol. I am sure you will all agree that the educators today have given us a lot of inspiration and insight into the world of SEL through Microsoft tools. Amazing, and thank you to all of you. Just before we head over to Q&A, I wanted to show you through the MEC. We started at the top of this presentation with a little information around what the MEC is, and we're now going to give you the code for joining today's session. So if you head to the Microsoft Educator Centre, when you have logged in, if you've used it before, or signed up, you will be presented with a screen with lots of courses on there. In the top right hand corner, there will be a little circle with your initials or a Bitmoji if you're like me and you like a Bitmoji on your profile. If you click into there, you need to select Redeem Achievement Code. And then we can get you to pop in the code T-NED34E420. This will then appear on your transcript as evidence that you have attended the CPD session with us today. Thank you very much for joining. I would now like to hand back to Sonia and Jen.
Thanks so much, everyone. We have just enough time to answer any questions you might have. We're all here in the live chat, so post them below and any one of our speakers will happily respond. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to our speakers for sharing such great examples.